Hey everybody, Derek here. We're going to take a look at the news for April 12th to April 18th, 2021. So this week, Capcom had a Resident Evil showcase. They were showcasing, should really have been called the Resident Evil Village showcase, much like the last one. It focused pretty heavily on the new Resi stuff. I'll just full screen that. So they're just showing off a new trailer, a bunch of new features that are coming to the game. So again, showing off some of the new characters and things like that. They were also showing that Mercenaries mode is coming back to Resident Evil Village. So if you may be familiar from other Resident Evil titles, Mercenaries was a standalone mode that, well, standalone isn't correct because it comes with the game, but anyway, it's a separate mode in the game that allows you to play through mostly a heavily combat kind of arcadey shooter kind of thing, where it's just throwing waves of enemies at you. And you can upgrade your gear and, go for the extra points and unlock new things and things like that. For people who are like really like the combat side of Resident Evil. So the Village's Mercenaries mode is a little bit more involved. There's multiple areas. There's a shop. You can upgrade your gear as you go. It seems like they're putting a bit more emphasis onto it. They've also announced that there is a timed demo coming for Resident Evil Village again. So if you're watching this, you missed one of the windows for playing the demo on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. They have open for the weekend from April 10 and 11. You could play a bit of the game for 30 minutes. And the next weekend, you'll be able to play a separate section of the game for 30 minutes. And then the weekend after that, they're throwing it open for everybody. So that's PlayStation, Xbox, PC. They all get a chance to play for 60 minutes, I believe, for both areas. So somewhat allowing PlayStation a bit of early access for it, but eventually everyone will get a chance. I don't really like timed demos too much, just because you tend to just rip through them as fast as you can so you can see as much as you can, but then you end up not seeing much because you're going so fast through the game. I'd much rather just wait for the game to come out. It's coming out soon enough. It's out next month. I'm not pushed, honestly, to play the timed demos, especially if there's nothing in that won't be in the game proper, so that's fine by me. Other things announced during their showcase, the CGI trailer for the new Netflix film, Infinite Darkness. Some news about the new live-action film, Welcome to Raccoon City, so they have apparently wrapped production on that, so they're working on the CG stuff now. And they've also announced Resident Evil 4 for the Oculus Quest 2, exclusive to the Oculus Quest 2, which isn't great. Because I don't have one, and I don't want to get one because it's so heavily tied to Facebook. You need a Facebook account and everything. I've done everything in my power to get away from Facebook, so that sucks. So hopefully that's more of a timed exclusive type thing. But that was it for Resi. I just make sure I didn't miss anything, but I'm pretty sure that was it for the Resi showcase. Some stuff about Mercenaries mode, some stuff about the demo, the CGI series thing. One interesting thing though, that was the Resident Evil showcase that went on the PlayStation channel actually didn't show the thing for Resident Evil 4 VR. There was apparently different videos were uploaded, so only one of them, I guess the non-PlayStation affiliated one, had the Oculus Quest 2 announcement. Anyway. Nintendo also had an Indie World showcase, or Nindies as sometimes it's called, so they just showed off a bunch of games, so we'll go through them here. This is Road 96, which is a procedurally generated road trip game. So there's a couple of things here where this kid is talking to different people, different characters that they meet along the way. Maybe sometimes you're going by road, sometimes you're meeting up. You can see the number in the top left is meant to show off different possible things that can happen as you're doing this road trip. So it seems interesting. Procedurally generated stuff can be hit or miss. It really depends how random it is. How often does the same thing show up. Aerial Knight Never Yield is a runner not by Aerial Knight, but I guess it says game by Aerial Knight, fine. It's like a parkour runner game. I have no idea who Aerial Knight is, so take that for what it is. But yeah, it's a runner game. You see tons of them on mobile. Used to be tons of them on like JavaScript games. Fine. I guess if you like the guy or know who he is, or the game seems interesting to you, Bit Trip Runner does much the same stuff. So go play that. I don't know. Annapurna had some stuff to show off. This is Last Stop, which appears to be a game that is merging 3 different characters' stories. There's some kind of supernatural timey-wimey shit happening. Again, this is more of a story trailer, so not showing off too much or any gameplay really, so who knows how it goes. But Annapurna have a habit of making interesting story games. Hindsight was another game they showed off. This one seems to be much further away in terms of release. This probably won't be seeing it too soon, but it's taking one woman's journey from her childhood right up until her old age, and things she could have done differently or done better or whatever. It's called Hindsight. Again, don't know a whole lot about it. Big reveal was Ollie Ollie World, which, if you may or may not be familiar with the Ollie Ollie series, it's a bit of a runnery type thing as well, with skate tricks you do with the analog sticks. It's really well liked. I've never played it. I just know that people really, really like it. That's all I've got to say about it. But Ollie Ollie World seems a bit more open. You can talk to a lot of different people in it. Like, you could stop skating and get like quests and shit. You can take different routes through the game. I don't know if this trailer shows it off. No, because I skipped heavily through it there. But there are a bunch of different routes you can take through the game. Instead of always taking the same route as everybody else, you can take an easier route or a harder route or something like that to spice things up a little bit. The Longing is a really interesting looking title. I don't know how well it will play, but basically you play as a lonely servant, as the trailer suggests, and you are stuck waiting for this sleeping god to wake up. And you're stuck underground with it for 400 days, real time. You can see at the very top of the screen when the gameplay comes back on. It's 400 real time days of what you want to do. So there's a bit of a Animal Crossing kind of thing. There's a bit of just how are you going to spend your time? 400 days to look about the place. We don't know too much else about it otherwise, but you can spruce up your environs in your house and that kind of thing. It's out already, I think. That was a mistake. It's out already, I think, on the Switch shop. I think I saw it. So if you're interested, go give that a look. This is no game. Wrong Dimension is a kind of roaring trip through a lot of different games. You go through a lot of games that you may or may not be familiar with and play them in different kind of mini games and stuff. A lot of people seem really interested in it. I don't get it, but I guess it's more of a thing you need to see before you get what it's about. I don't know. It just looks like a bunch of mini games to me. I could, of course, and more than likely am very wrong. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge. This was shown off a while ago. It was kind of announced that they were working on a new one, so this again is more of a reminder, hey, this game is coming. Keep an eye out for it. And I will. Chris Tales is a kind of action RPG kind of game. Is there gameplay in this? Yeah, so it's kind of a turn-based sort of, a little bit like Indivisible, I guess. Looks interesting. I'll probably give it a shot. It's the artwork is really interesting in it. Getsu Fumaden is another side-scrolling action game that has absolutely gorgeous artwork from Konami, who I assumed were only doing pachinko games. So interesting. Apologies for the graininess of this footage. YouTube does not want to play well with me, but whatever. This looks gorgeous. I have to play it kind of almost regardless of how well the game actually plays. I just have to play it because of how good it looks. It's just got huge Okami vibes from me and a bit of Onimusha going with it as well. So Yeah, I need to give that one. I need to give that one a look. Azteca, or Aztec? I thought it was Azteca because this A. No, all right, it's just Aztec. Fine. Is a 3D action-y thing set in a futuristic Aztec world, I guess. Is there gameplay? Kinda, yeah. So we've got some wall running, we've got some arena combat with this character who has a giant fist, so punching people. Looks cool, and you don't see much like Aztec aesthetics or any kind of the Central American stuff, so I'd be interested to see how well this plays and comes out. Skull the Hero Slayer is a roguelike where you have multiple different characters based on the skull, because you can swap your skull into different bodies and become those characters. You are kind of the bad guy, since you're attacking heroes of the land who are trying to conquer your master's evil domain, and you're the last guardian of it or something. But you can swap out your head and to become other character classes, other movesets, other powers, that kind of thing. So that looks fun, at least. I had actually kind of written it off, but after looking at some of the footage there, I was like, that actually looks kind of good, so maybe I will go back and have a better look at it. Art of Rally is a isometric rally game. Probably the easiest way to look at it. I think at this point you probably know whether or not you want to play it. Not a huge fan of racing games myself, or rally games, or whatever. It does look really nice though. The isometric viewpoint is really interesting because it reminds me a lot of Micro Machines. Is isometric correct? Because the camera is shifting with us. Maybe isometric isn't right. Top down is probably more correct. Anyway, that's Art of Rally. Kiwi I have seen trailers for already, but this is you are playing two Kiwis who are manning a postal service, and they are tiny, as you can see, so you need to actually run around and like jump on buttons and collect parcels and move things around. It looks fun. Don't know how much gameplay necessarily is involved in it. Also, you can see there are two Kiwi that seem to be moving about a lot, so is it co-op? Are you controlling the two of them yourself? Don't know, would have to see gameplay, but it looks really fun. I accidentally rewound there, sorry. Labyrinth City Pierre the Maze Detective looks like Pain. It looks like Eye Strain the game. It's like a Where's Wally or Where's Waldo, depending on where you are in the world, of trying to hunt down people in like extremely dense maps. This just looks like pain. It looks like horrible pain. Good luck following a walkthrough for these kind of games as well. It'd be like, Jesus Christ, I would go insane. That's a hell of a lot of assets on screen right there, though. Then they went into a bunch of like really quick games, so we didn't actually get to see much of any of these games. So Weaving Tides I didn't see much of, but it was like a flying thing. It didn't show off much. They didn't talk much about it. It was just a trailer. Also still not entirely clear what the game is about. House of the Dead remake is, I would think, pretty straightforward. If you know what House of the Dead is, it was a light gun game. You don't see many light gun games anymore because they relied on CRT monitors, and since you don't see CRT monitors anymore, you don't see light gun games anymore. So I guess this is probably more of a cursor type thing. I find it unlikely that there's an actual peripheral to play the game with. Don't know. Maybe there is. Are Nintendo working on a peripheral they haven't told us about? Ender Lilies is a Metroidvania gothic Lolita type deal. I like its aesthetic, so I'll probably give it a shot. And it has an air dash. I'm in. That's it. That's all you need to give me. Give me an air dash, and I'm all in on that game. Beasts of Maravilla. I don't remember. Was this the one that looked like Pokemon Snap? I think it's like really nice lush areas, and you take pictures of creatures as you come across them. Is that this game? You're not taking any pictures, so maybe it's not. Maybe it's not that game. I guess I don't remember this one from the showcase. It was probably one of the really quick blasts of gameplay. I could have sworn there was a Pokemon Snappy type one. I thought it was. It is this one. Okay, cool. So it's a bit Pokemon Snap, a bit the camera mechanic from Beyond Good and Evil that had something similar, although it was much straightforward. But yeah, that's that game. Fez, I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably already know what Fez is. It was an indie darling from a number of years back, so it's getting a Nintendo Switch release. So this obviously is not a new title. Fez has been around for quite some time. It is a rotating platformy puzzle game that got really good reviews, and I still haven't played it. And at this stage, I'm probably never going to play it. Oxenfree 2 was the last thing announced. It was a kind of, oh, but wait, we've got one more thing that they announced right at the end. Oxenfree 2. Never played Oxenfree 1, but it does have a massive cult following of being really interesting, really weird, a good mystery, and Oxenfree 2 appears to be more of the same. The trailer is very short, but it does show off the kind of radio channel tuning and stuff from the original Oxenfree, and some crazy shit happening as this opens a weird portal that they apparently didn't show. Oh no, there it is. Yeah, because it did show. I was thinking, did they upload different trailers? And that was it for the Nindies. Other new games released this week. We have Saga Frontier Remastered. Saga Frontier is an old school JRPG with like a number of different characters that you can play and swap between their stories. So you've got Octopath Traveler, but like 20 years ago kind of game. Not 20, I don't think it's quite that old, but it's pretty old. Saga Frontier is a really good game, so I will probably get my hands on that at some point. The Darkside Detective, A Fumble in the Dark, is a sequel to the original Darkside Detective that was just released on PlayStation consoles. It's been on other consoles for a while, but it's a point-and-click, humorous, kind of taking a lot of familiar but legally distinct video game stuff. But yeah, it's a puzzle game with a lot of humor to it, so it's something to keep an eye on. Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn, has got a PS5 open beta that started this week. I'm sure if you have a friend who was into Final Fantasy XIV, they have probably tried to get you into Final Fantasy XIV, and now that it is actually on PS5 in its open beta, I'm going to take the plunge and see what happens. I don't know if you'll never hear from me again. We'll see. You can see on the side of the screen I have it as a coming up next. I'll be giving Final Fantasy XIV a go. We'll see what happens. You might never hear from me again. And then Super Meat Boy Forever is a collection of all the Super Meat Boy games, I think. Or is it a brand new game? I don't actually know. I think it is actually a sequel, but I don't. To be honest, I never followed the Super Meat Boy stuff. I just know it is well liked, just not particularly by me. The levels are too hard and they frustrate me too much. That's just it. I don't want to angry up my own blood. Okay, moving on. It is of course everyone's favorite part of the show, industry bullshit. So Amazon has cancelled its Lord of the Rings MMO due to a dispute with Tencent. The game was originally announced in 2018, so Amazon currently have the IP for Lord of the Rings. It's why they're doing this MMO, but they're also making a TV show that they probably wanted to release close enough to each other to make the synergy. They love a bit of synergy. So what happened is Amazon were working with it by themselves, but they are also working with Athlon Games, who are a US subsidiary of Hong Kong-based Leyou Technologies. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but Leyou Technologies were purchased by Tencent. It says it there in 2020, so the end of last year, and I guess there have been some contract renegotiations, and Amazon and Tencent have not been able to come to a turn. We have been unable to secure terms to proceed with this title at this time. So that is another Amazon project that's not going ahead. At this stage, So as I mentioned here of their TV series, that they probably wanted a bit of business synergy, but I think the kind of interesting thing here is Amazon have been working on this, right, the Lord of the Rings MMO. They've been working on New World, which has been delayed multiple times, working on several unannounced projects. We don't know what that is. Have they only released one game? Is Valorant the only game they've released? And that's it. How long have they been in business? How long has Amazon been in the game business? There was mention of the incoming CEO wanting to lean further into video games, but this must just be a big slap in the face for him. Or not slap in the face, but like a big disappointment, maybe. I don't know, but I just think it's hilarious that Amazon, with all of their influence and money, still have only managed to get a single game out. Anyway, so shitty news, but somewhat unsurprisingly, EA bought Codemasters a while ago, maybe 2-3 months ago, I think. I talked about it on this channel anyway. I forget exactly when they did it, but they've released Formula 1 2021, and it has seen prices more than double in Steam regional stores. The launch price has increased in every region except the United States. In many cases, the price will double or triple. So there is a breakdown here of the pricing, if you can get a good look at it. So you can see US dollar is highlighted. It's the one that hasn't changed, $59.99. I'm only going to go based on my own, but last year Formula 1 2020 was €54.99, which corresponded to $65, which is almost a 10% increase. And this year it will be $59.99, which is $70, which is almost a 20% increase. So this is kind of highlighting two things. One, game publishers either don't care about exchange rates or just ignore them entirely and just give you the same number instead. But I don't think that is exactly correct, because they seem to care when it is British pounds. I can't find it on the 2020 list. Does anyone see the UK flag? Oh, there it is. £44.99, which corresponds to $60, which is close enough to the $59.99 pricing. And in 2021, they kept it the same, $49.99, which corresponds to $68, which is actually a 15% increase. Right? Because exchange rates are different. You know, they make a difference. So you can see that, like, there's different pluses and minuses here. The link will be in the description if you want to dive into your region. I don't know what region you're from, but there are like plus 200% in here, which is obviously bullshit. I know there are some like terrible import costs in different regions. Brazil in particular has some really shitty import taxing. This also doesn't take into account that the average wage or the average salary of the person in that country is usually considerably lower than the US. So even if it was an equivalent price, they don't have equivalent buying power. So of course you also have to deal with the idea that they would be VPN, and you change your region so you could get a cheaper price. So there's obviously a bunch of horseshit in this whole digital store thing, but like a 200%, 300% increase is just after EA has purchased them. Obviously doesn't look good for EA. Naughty Dog says it isn't working on a new Jak and Daxter, but wishes it was. So, not exactly news. Kind of know that Naughty Dog has gone away from its friendly Crash Bandicoot Jak and Daxter days, but what I found interesting in these quotes is that seeing what Insomniac are doing with Ratchet makes me wish that we were also working on Jak and Daxter. Still a lot of love for Jak and Daxter in the studio, but then they come back to say the projects Naughty Dog decides to work on are really driven by the team. So if you wish you were working on it, there's a lot of love for Jak and Daxter. Yeah, we'll make a new series, legally distinct. And decisions are really driven by the team. Why aren't you working on a new Jak and Daxter. These two things sure seem to go together, right? You want to work on it, and apparently the things you decide to work on are driven by you. Why aren't you working on Jak and Daxter? Probably because one of these is incorrect. Either they don't actually get to decide what they work on, or there is no love for Jak and Daxter and nobody wants to work on it. There is some mention here that Bruce Stranley and Neil Druckmann, the guys who went on to do The Last of Us, were working on Jak and Daxter before they shelved it to work on that. Was it their decision to shelve it, or was it someone else's decision to shelve it? We don't know. I think Sony probably has a bit too much say in what Naughty Dog are doing. They also go to mention that we would likely to gravitate towards new types of games rather than endless sequels. How many Uncharted's are there now? The Last of Us got an unnecessary sequel? The story was fine, just leave it? And gravitate towards new types of games? Come on. Uncharted and Last of Us, they play similarly, you know? I mean, Uncharted is a bit more actiony and there's a lot more leeway in terms of combat. Nathan Drake has a much better aim than Joel, but there are like shooty games and action adventure type games. They're the same type of game. It's just one of them is more grim than the other. You could even look at Uncharted 4 and say Uncharted was also going down the grim route that Last of Us is. But the fact that they're working on a remake and they're trying to say that we're working on new types of games, and there's some bullshit happening there. I don't know. Industry bullshit. Anyway, this is kind of following on news that Sony are shutting down the PS3, Vita, and PSP stores. The patches for a lot of those games can no longer be downloaded. So it's possible, this hasn't been confirmed, but it's possible that the patches have been also taken down in preparation for closing the stores. So there's a list of a couple of games here: Battlefield 4, Castlevania Lords of Shadow, Gran Turismo 5, Little Big Planet, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, Soul Calibur 4, Street Fighter 3, Third Strike. None of them can get their patches currently. Now, I did see a tweet from some people that I follow that Castlevania Lords of Shadow confirmed that it wasn't downloading its patch, but that appears to have been fixed in the last couple of days. If that's the same for the other games, I don't know. And even with that, is it the same? Is it Sony clearing out their servers before they shut them down? We don't know. Sony were contacted for comment, but did not come back at time of recording or at time of publishing of this article, so we don't know. But if it is, that's kind of shitty, because people were thinking they had enough time to the summer to get their games, but if the patches aren't working, you're not getting the full game. If you were looking to try to get trophies need the latest version of the game for the patches to work correct, or for the trophy unlocks to work correctly. And if you want to play the game online, obviously you need to have the latest patches, otherwise they won't let you on. So that's kind of shit. Hopefully that's fixed and it really is just a bug and not shittiness on Sony's part. Quantic Dream responds to Paris Court of Appeals judgment to set the record straight. So there was a judgment rendered on Quantic Dream. A former employee accused them of circulating offensive photoshopped images of employees being circulated at the studio, so they'd have their heads superimposed on like pornographic images and like deepfakes of them and that kind of thing. There was a damning joint investigation into toxic workplace culture undertaken by a team of French publications, Le Monde, Canard PC, and Mediapart. I don't know if they're French, so I don't know if I pronounced the T, but anyway, them. Big stink about it in 2018. It was basically to say that there's a big toxic misogynist bro culture at Quantic Dream. David Cage came out to say at the time that he was shocked and it was slanderous and a big smear campaign by these publications. Why? You are not a big enough deal for them to bother smearing you. But they did win their appeal. But the important part is the court ruling does not explicitly mention or negate the employee's allegations of homophobic or racist treatment. Anyway, nor addresses the studio's culture. So basically, the crux of the appeal, or why they won the appeal, is statute of limitations, basically. The employee took too long to complain about photo montages, and they had no medical evidence, so they didn't get a doctor to say that there had been impact on their mental health or whatever. So that's why they were why they won their appeal. Not that they weren't circulating these images, not that they didn't have a toxic workplace, homophobic, racist, misogynist, etc. Just that statute of limitations applies. You took too long. That's not a good look for you guys. This is not the slam dunk you think it is. This appeal does not negate the claims of a toxic, misogynist, sexist, homophobic, racist behavior, as well as, I forgot about this, as well as alleged financial malpractice and liberties taken with labor laws. Liberties taken with labor laws, not in France. Don't pull that shit in France, guys. Anyway, so this is them trying to say these accusations seriously damage the honor and reputation of the studio. Yeah, I bet. With good reason, it sounds like. The appeal itself, I attempted to read. It is linked in the article. It's also here. This is Google translated, and it's all in legalese, so I didn't get very far. But I guess it's there if you really want to read it. Okay, we'll finish off with some dumb stuff. Dumb stuff is usually a palate cleanser of funny shenanigans on the internet, but not always. So this doesn't really fit in industry bullshit because players aren't really part of the industry. Maybe I should make them part of the industry, I don't know. But anyway, troll makes up Path of Exile ban over accessibility is asshole. You are correct. So this is a player who claimed to have been banned from action RPG Path of Exile for using a macro to make the game accessible. They had been using a macro in Path of Exiles that let them refresh multiple potion buffs. Never played Path of Exile, but I know... Sorry, that's not true. I have played Path of Exile, I just never played it for very long. I do know that it plays a bit like Diablo, the old Diablo, so potions and stuff like that. Being able to press and click on your keyboard very, very fast in quick succession. Obviously having a macro for that would be beneficial. I'm not exactly sure why it would be cheating. So they have a post on a legal subreddit. As I got banned for it recently, I have hundreds of dollars spent on this account and was wondering if I have any case at all since my disability means that I have to use the macro to play the game. Don't think this macro is cheating. It doesn't sound like it is either, since it doesn't give me any unfair advantages and I literally physically can't play without it. Now, on the surface, that sounds bad, right? Shouldn't have been banned for doing that. And Path of Exile's account responded to basically say, yeah, you shouldn't have. This isn't in line with our internal policies. But we can't find any account that was banned for this reason. The CEO also came back to more or less repeat that line, that it's not in line with internal policies, and they have found no evidence of such, because it was a hoax. This guy, Legal, all right, Path of Exile Legal Throwaway or whatever. Okay, it's not his name. I am an educator and did this as a demonstration for my class on how easy it is to manipulate public opinion and discourse on social media. They claim they chose the game because a relatively harmless area for this exercise relative to something like politics. Pulling this shit in games is not relatively harmless. Guy, you need to watch my industry bullshit segment more often. Just look at any harassment that comes in the video game hobby sphere. You can look at Gamergate. There's like a bunch of shit that happens when people pull this kind of stuff. If misinformation from a single person about something as minor as a video game can have such impacts, imagine the implications regarding politics, climate change, etc. that's being done, thousands of people across various institutions. And Riley goes on to highlight a bunch of stories for we don't need to imagine. We know you are contributing to this, you huge piece of shit. Other disability advocates have come back to, or accessibility advocates have come back to say, you made the world a harder place for legitimately disabled people to get the attention of devs. Yes, you have done a Boy Cries Wolf shit on this, and it's going to affect everyone else who has legitimate disabilities. Using false disability claims to either prove a point or just for the laughs is disrespectful, cruel, and actively harmful to people with disabilities. Correct. So, shitty behavior. Whether or not he is actually a teacher is somewhat in dispute. There's been some questions that maybe the account was hacked. This whole thing. Either way, this whole situation is just disgusting. Anyway, now we can actually finish on a funnier note. Big Bowser Penis has been removed from Patreon. So, Nintendo have sent their Seek and Destroy cease and desist missile over to Acco Arcade, the 3D modeler who specializes in adult props for not safe for work source filmmaker clips. Earlier this week, one of their creations, a large veiny dick intended for use with Bowser movies, has had to be removed from Patreon after a takedown notice was issued against it. Now, I'm not gonna scroll down because I don't know how YouTube deals with pictures of Bowser penises. I don't want a community ban, but there's a picture here of the prop in question, and it is spiky and it has spiky balls, and it's hilarious. But this is obviously objectively hilarious. The creation itself is not gone. It's just not on Patreon anymore. So if you need a big veiny penis for use in your Bowser movie, you can find it somewhere. Acco Arcade has uploaded it somewhere else that is not being linked to avoid the Seek and Destroy cease and desist missile. But it's gonna scroll. Careful. No. Anyway. Anyway, that was the news for April 12th to April 18th. Some new info about Resident Evil Village, the Mercenaries mode. The Resident Evil 4 VR actually does look cool. I'm just really pissed it's exclusive to Quest 2. If they couldn't have put it on Quest 1, because I have one of them. I got it before Facebook put their Facebook account shenanigans on it. I don't know how much longer I have with that. Can't see it coming to PSVR just because of the way the game appears to work. It appears to be using the wrist tracking rings kind of setup, the eye tracking in the headset, rather than PSVR's object tracking stuff. But maybe PSVR 2, because we've seen before PSVR 2 looks like it's using wrist tracking and eye tracking. Some stuff from the Nindies. Bunch of new indie games. A lot of them look really interesting, and even the ones that I'm not interested in still look like a good deal. Some new games released. I'll probably check out most of them, but I'm not super pushed to jump on them right away, except for Final Fantasy 14, I suppose, but that's been out a good while now. Some more horrible industry bullshit, but nothing earth-shattering exactly. Some new videos coming to the channel. Obviously you can see up on the side my face that there were some new videos went up last week. So I played a bit of Monster Hunter and I played a bit of Bowser's Fury without the big veiny penis, luckily, because that would have been a very different game. Some videos coming up this week. My intention is to put up a video for Persona 5 Strikers, and then either Outriders or Final Fantasy 14. I don't know which yet. It's a question of how long it takes to get into Final Fantasy 14, and how much editing I would have to do for that video, and similarly for Outriders, how much editing I would have to do for that. But we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked it, and I will include the link for the big veiny Bowser penis if you really want to see it. Okay, I'll see you guys next time.